the unconscious is like a person. It's not like a machine. It's not like a car you stick a key into and you make it do things.
Yeah, that's great.
That just as Lisa was saying, that the respectful beckoning to the unconscious, it responds to that because it is alive and is conscious in its own way.
Yes. And we call it the dream maker, so it is it's a person, an energy of whatever. But, Jung says over and over, the unconscious is autonomous and it has direction.
Yeah.
It is autonomous. I really would like to dream about this because I have this big decision. And then I dream about my third grade teacher, Mrs. Humison.
Because the unconscious thinks that's where the gold is.
Right.
That's the important thing.
You, Deb, may be interested in whether to do A or B, but I am interested in something else. But another way to have a moment with yourself is you may have a little snippet of a dream image. Make up a story about it. You don't remember the dream, but, my fictitious dream about my third grade teacher, what was it about Mrs. Humison? What do I remember? What do I take? What is the feeling? Or a tarot deck of some people draw a card every day of what will that give you? It's their images that are archetypal images, a wonderful system of symbolism. You can read a little bit about it and go, I wonder why I drew this card.
Right. And just even like it's an image, right? The tarot as a divinatory tool is particularly interesting because it's so image based. And so it's like explicitly symbolic in that sense. And, any, Si Ching or the runes or whatever, they're all great.
Right.
But tarot in particular, you can do this thing where you can just like be with that image, So really, I think what we're talking about again and again is opening up, bypassing the purely rational mind to make room for the non-rational and create a relationship with it.
Yes.
Right. And it's not like, oh, I'm just going to go off and find my non-rational mind and then totally act on that. No, you have to stay grounded. You have to sort of like let everything pass the common sense test, So when I was, making my decision there at that window and Split, do I go home? Do I stay here? And it was like, all right, yes, I have this impulse to want to go back to the States and enroll in a graduate program. Does that pass the common sense test? Well, it's a risk, but it's not off, it's not completely off the range, right? I'm not, I don't know, I'm not going to buy a bridge in Brooklyn or something, you do have to kind of, I think, like run things through that filter a little bit. But you are looking for, what does the unconscious think right now? What does the unconscious think about my plan? I may be very worried about my retirement savings, but maybe the unconscious has something else that it's noodling on. And the unconscious has a very different sense of time than consciousness does. So we're very worried about what's going to happen today and next week and next month. The unconscious is kind of partakes of the world of the eternal. And in many senses, it's preoccupied with sort of ultimate concerns. So it's really good to check in with it and see what it might have to say, because it's probably going to have a very different perspective about what's important than our waking conscious mind.
And Jung gives us an additional way of tracking this unconscious movement, and he talks about a gradient forming inside of himself down which libido flows towards an inner object. And so Jung, in his biography, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, and he wrote that or dictated it when he was very elderly, and he he says that people have been asking him to write autobiographies forever and ever, and a gradient never formed, and so he just couldn't do it. All of a sudden, his secretary, Anila Jaffe, says, how about this idea? And he checks inside himself, not outside. He checks inside, and he says, a gradient is forming, and my libido is flowing in the direction of an autobiography. So this is subtle in one sense and then not otherwise. So when we check inside of ourselves and we notice, where is our life force flowing? Where is our desire accumulating? Where is the magnetic image inside of us? And Jung tells us that libido, or life force, is intelligent. It has its own wisdom. And it's, in a sense, providing guidance to the ego in as much as it's making its own decisions and announcing them to us by providing or withholding vitality regarding any particular venture that we are engaged with.
Yeah. And that's it's such an ordinary thing to say, and it's so big, what you've just said, is, wait a minute, where's my vitality?
Yeah.
I really should, and that's often a clue as well, do X or Y or Z, versus something gets lit up inside me. I want to. And that is a wonderful thing to sit with yourself in just a very daily way of, what does my day look like? What am I up for? How am I feeling about this? Where's my energy? Where is the libido flowing? Where's the gradient? And there are plenty of things that we have to do whether we want to or not, or whether we're up for it or not. But it will tell you something about yourself and where your inner world is. And that can often help me get through an outer world series of stuff that I just have to do. It's like, well, let me just take care of this, this, and this, these errands, that chore, various other kinds of things. Because I'm in touch with looking forward to tonight, when I can settle down with a book or some quiet time or talk to that friend that I really miss. At least I know where my energy, what it's thirsty for.
Yeah, I like that, Deb. I like the idea of thirst. And we can even ask ourselves, just like sometimes we get so busy that we miss physical cues of hunger or thirst. I mean, that happens to me all the time. I'm like,
I wish it would happen to me.
well, right. But we can miss our own thirst for this connection with something larger than ourselves. And so I like that word.
Now I'm going to enact that.
Yeah, there we go. The self is ordering you to drink.
But it's interesting. I mean, you just touched on something that made me aware, and that was great that it happened interactively.
Yeah.
If we sit with ourselves for just a second, how quickly an awareness can pop up.
When we begin to trust turning within, that kind of pausing, suspending the magnetic relationship to the outer world, or our Zen friends talk about the 10,000 things that pull us into desire, pull us into the outer world.
Yep.
We have to create a little secret temenos around us, and then we turn in. We're going to notice all kinds of things when we turn within. There's memories, there's associations, there's the chatter of our waking mind, the chatter of memories. There's all kinds of things inside. So there's a sorting process that has to go on. And this is, again, where journaling can be very helpful, where we begin to kind of notice the flotsam and jetsam that's also just on the surface of consciousness. And one of the ways to kind of brush that aside is to just write it down. I'm a great list maker. When I have thoughts that come in, I just write them down. But part of that is I'm writing them down so I can relieve my ego of trying to remember it because it's important. Because I kind of want to get that, the leaves off of the top of the pool so that I can look a little bit deeper down.
Yeah.
And that's true for all of us. That's a natural sifting down process. When you begin to notice things, and for me, this is a process that I was able to pull together when I was about 19. This way of reaching upward in a particular fashion, having a sense of impulses and images that were descending down into me, I would notice that I was being influenced and tapped in certain directions, and that certain images and ideas and impulses I would become aware of. What age has afforded me is that there are many possibilities that will descend into us that can even seem rather remarkable. But I take each of those ideas and I put them in a discrete little nest inside of my awareness, and I wait to see where libido is going to accumulate. Because early in my life, an idea might seem marvelous, but if the unconscious didn't give me enough energy to bring it to a conclusion, it was just painful and useless. So now, and I've been doing this about 15, 20 years, I will tend the many nests, like the chicken coop in my head, check on them every so often.
Yep.
But if that egg's not chirping from the inside, or this idea over here isn't capturing any libido, nowadays I am not going to keep trying to make life force flow towards something that is not either not ready or perhaps is not something that is meant to be born in my world. Maybe it's just meant to be something that sails by and I take a glance at it, but it's not actionable in all circumstances. So the actionable inner guidance for me is the thing that begins to build a vortex around it. And then I kind of wait until it gets to a critical moment. And I've made this do with my unconscious and with the self. I said, listen, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want me to do, but you have to provide all the vitality for me to bring that to a conclusion. And if you won't do that, I won't act on it. Like that's the bargain that I've made with wherever this stuff comes from, because I am tired of just left hanging the bag.